Clemson lost 2 games in 2020, which is really a down year by Clemson standards. We're going to look ahead to 2021 and try to project what their record could be based on their schedule and their chances to win each game on this schedule. And I want to be clear before I get into this, this is not a prediction. It's not an official prediction by me. It's simply a projection based on the schedule and based on their chances to win each game, which we just kind of group teams together, and it's kind of a conservative projection here. So 2020, again, they were 10-2. They wound up playing 12 games. But with this projection, we are going to separate their opponents into different percentages, and this is the scale that we will use. So the games that are basically 50-50 games that I think could really go either way, those are going to be in the white. Games where a team has less than 10% will be in red. Obviously, you won't see any of that here with Clemson. Won't see any orange either, 10 to 25%. 26 to 40%, those games in yellow, 60 to 74% in purple, 75 to 90 in blue. And games where I think they have more than a 90% chance, those are going to be in green. So let's get right into it with those green games. They have a couple of them. South Carolina State and UConn, no chance that Clemson loses either one of these games. They will be blowouts. They will have the starters out of the game by halftime, I think, in both of these matchups. There are some other games on this schedule that could potentially fall into this category. I'm maybe looking at that Syracuse game, but again, that's a Friday night game. It's on the road. I don't think we can put that one over 90%, but really the blue, the 75 to 90%, that's where the majority of the schedule is going to be for Clemson. They're going to be favored, and again, these are games where we're saying they're going to be favored by double digits, 10 to 20 points, somewhere in there probably. The greens are 20 plus or over 20. And I think, again, the majority of Clemson's schedule falls in this category. In fact, it's every other game besides Georgia. Georgia Tech, I think, they're going to be favored by a couple touchdowns at least. NC State on the road, that one's closer to 75% than it is 90%. But I still think it's in this category. I know it's on the road. I know NC State should be pretty good this year, but Clemson should be really good, and I don't really see them having much chance to lose that game. Boston College is kind of in the same category. Yeah, they're going to be pretty good this year, but playing at home, Clemson, they're going to be favored by double digits. Just talked about Syracuse. It falls here, and I think that one's closer to 90% than it is 75%. Syracuse, that one's not going to be very tough. So Pittsburgh up next on the road against a quality team. Pittsburgh is going to put out a good team. They do every year. Kenny Pickett will be back at quarterback, but it's still not going to be a team that I think can challenge Clemson. Upsets happen. One of these games could be an upset. It wouldn't be a huge shock if they were to lose one of these games, and Pittsburgh might be the team that could pull it off. I really look at NC State on the road as probably being the toughest test here in these blue games. That is, again, the game that I think is closer to 75%. But Pittsburgh could be interesting. Florida State at home, I think, unless Florida State's a lot better, this is still going to be a game where Clemson's favored by a couple touchdowns. Same thing with Louisville. Again, a lot of these games for Clemson are closer to 75% than they are 90%. But I do think they, again, should all be in this category. Wake Forest, the same thing. South Carolina, not going to be very good this year. But the game is on the road, and it is a rivalry, so I guess you never know what might happen. But again, the majority of this schedule for Clemson, I think they have a 75% chance or better to win every game on this schedule besides Georgia. We're not going to change the color for Georgia here because I think that is a 50-50 game. I really feel like this is a game that could go either way. It's very tough to predict what will happen in this matchup. I just talked about how big this game is. It's going to be a monster game. So I can't really, if I had to favor a team, if it came down to it, I said if right now, and again, this is not an official prediction, I could absolutely change my mind on this as I go through and do more research and everything this off season. But if I had to pick right now, I probably would go with Clemson. But again, it's so close to a 50-50 game, it's very hard to make a pick. So at the end of the day, what we do here when we make this projection is we count the games in blue and green. We count those as wins, and if it's in the orange or the red, we count it as a loss. Obviously, we don't have any of those here for Clemson, so we count those games as wins, and then we average out the rest of the games. So for Clemson, they only have one game that's not considered a win, And if you split this game, that would put their record at 11.5 and 0.5. So you don't really have, it's right in the middle between 11-1 and 12-0, because we can't predict a winner in this game. But because of the fact that they're favored in every other game, I'm going to round this one up, and I'm going to say that the projected record for Clemson is 12-0 in 2021. Could easily be 11-1. It really, again, comes down to that Georgia game. If there was a game on this schedule where they had, where it was in the purple, where I thought it was a game that was closer to 60%. If they had a game on the schedule that I thought was in that category, that would bump them down to 11-1. So it's very close with their projection, either 11-1 or 12-0. But because they're favored in 11 of 12 games, I'm going to give them a 12-0 projection for 2021. What do you guys think about Clemson? What's your projection? What do you think their record's going to be? Again, it's early. This is not an official prediction, but based off of this schedule, they should be 12-0 or at worst 11-1 in 2021.